All right, so this is going, and I'm recording. Hi, my name is Nick Starchild, and I love women's sports, namely women's basketball. I've been a fan of women's basketball for 20 plus years. I'm going to react to Chiney's new show. It's her new episode that came out a couple days ago, and it's her reaction to some women's sports, women's basketball in particular. Also to note, Chiney is a current basketball player for the WNBA. She plays on the LA Sparks. All right, let's get into it.
Child, March has arrived, and let me tell y'all something. My favorite all-time warm-up song is "Nuck If You Buck, Why Nuck If You Buck, We Nuckin' and Buckin' and ready to fight." These women are not playing games. Welcome y'all to the Today Show, which you can watch on Players TV and all over my YouTube channels. We are your home for hoops. I'm talking about all hoops, period, because if you got game, you got game. We have an excellent show loading, especially based off of the energy we got from the Women's Championship Week tournaments. So let's dive into it.
It's music.
We have to start today with the biggest story in sports, and it is literally women's hoops. I'm so excited. So I will go through my championship day where I watched all the tournaments. And of course, it got spicy in the SEC, so no love lost between those two rivals. Yep. And we'll play Hot or Not with a special guest, Bree Lewerke, which I am so excited to bring to the show because there were some photos that we saw that might remind you of another legend in the game. So let's get to it.
Who's Bree? I don't know who that is. No love lost.
We have
Definitely
to
not.
start with the SEC Women's Championship. No love lost. South Carolina versus LSU. My goodness, the game, the fiasco, the scuffle that broke the internet. Now, before we get to the fight, I want to address the physicality because that was a major escalator in this situation.
Yep.
First, we saw that clip, which was super cool. It was Camila Cardoza, Angel Reese, battling it out, posting it up in the paint. Angel talking to her, and Camila comes back and is like, yeah, I love it here. I would like to call it irrational confidence. I don't want to say it's crazy, but
that's a good way to get under someone's skin is to laugh in their face. I think she should do it every game.
Be laughing at your opponent. I was like, whoa, they were in the thick of the competitive nature of this matchup. But then a lot of people were wondering, like, what would make Camila Cardoza so mad that she runs across the court and do what she did to Flage? Well, watch this clip right here. Angel Reese did tug her hair.
She pulled her hair.
And first of all, shout out to like the cameras above the rim for catching that moment. But I've only had one person pull my hair in competition. It was my sister during an all-star game. And we were going side by side. And I think did she pull my hair? I think she pulled my hair. And I wasn't mad. It was my sister. It was done in jest.
Yeah, you guys weren't serious.
There have been other times where hair has been pulled in the women's game that have started a lot of beefs. But if someone does that to me, someone that you are laughing at, someone that is your rival, someone that you are competing against in the best ways, I'm going to be mad. Not saying that that justifies anything that Camila Cardoza.
But she's right, though, because that's super petty. It's very immature and childish of Angel Reese to be pulling someone's hair in a game. It's like, girl, grow the fuck up. She talks a lot of mess about like how she's has to act a certain way and like present herself a certain way and that she's a good girl, but she actually plays a little dirty on the floor.
Does after that, but I do think that set her on edge. Then we get to the play. So South Carolina is literally running away with it.
Oh, Chiney actually didn't show that before this, Angel hit Camila in the neck with her arm. She did this really weird, like crazy little maneuver and hit Camila in the neck and got an intentional foul for that. She got a technical foul. So that's two times she got messed with by Angel. Just want to point that out.
Flage goes and commits a very tough foul near center court. Then things escalate. Ashlyn Watkins and Flage have a moment of just beefing. And then next...
Moment of beefing? Chiney, you're being too nice. Literally, Flage pushed Ashlyn because she was celebrating. Immature.
Next thing you know, that's where Camila comes out and just decks Flage. Now,
and you see that? Haley came up and pushed her too. But Haley didn't get ejected.
That was out of bounds. And the consequences of that action, we all know today. She was the only one from all of that melee and scuffle that now is ineligible to play in her next game, which means she will be missing the first round of the NCAA tournament. The other consequences, everyone that was involved in the fight, everyone that cleared the benches, we all know that Angel Reese was not in that group. Everyone was, ejected from the game. They were excused. They were ineligible for the rest of the game, which means we finished 5-on-5. Y'all, 5-on-5 to finish a game with significant consequences come March. A team that is I have never seen anything like that.
It was wild.
So that was the result of the scuffle, but that was not probably...
I want to point out she's never seen anything like that, but that has kind of happened before with Kim Mulkey. Kim Mulkey's ass had her Baylor team in like 2012 have an altercation on the court and there was a fight. So this ain't the first time for Kim. She is an instigator. She lets her players act like this. And other teams will react. Like if you push people's buttons, if you say things that's freaking crazy and out of context and like no context to it, and it's just kind of rude and tacky, you're gonna get on people's nerves. And it's like, yeah, you deserve it.
Biggest thing that had everyone talking, Flage's brother jumped out of the stands, which was probably 10 feet max from the court, and entered the court, which resulted in arrest, which was right.
Also, he grabbed Camilla. He assaulted her. He jumped over a woman. He literally stepped on her shoulders to get over to the court, and then he pulled on Flage. So, assault, two assaults, and then trespassing. His ass should have been arrested, and I hope he gets convicted because that's ridiculous. And Flage said, "Oh, I'm not that kind of person, whatever." Well, your family's that kind of person. You did it, and your family overreacted, and from something you started. So I think that's BS. I think she is young and whatever, but like you are who you come from. You are who you come from. You are who you were around. Okay. I think that a lot of players. Most basketball players should be in therapy because a lot of them are coming from broken homes, let's be real, or homes that are like not the most healthiest and healthy environments where violence is like sometimes okay in certain situations and things like that. Just want to say, everybody needs therapy.
You can't have any fan, no matter who they are, come onto a court, and that was completely not his space. But I can also see that he was 10 feet away. He saw his sibling get decked. I know this from personal experience. You're watching the game through their lens. So when he saw his sister go down, I'm sure he also saw red. The guy next to him looked like he could have jumped too to come onto the court, but he didn't. And that was the real blemish on this overall competition. Now, as a result of that, Flage went and apologized to Dawn. A very classy move by Flage for all of the confusion and also, I'm assuming, for her family member being a part of this altercation. And this is my big thought following the scuffle that we saw in the SEC championship. The first word that comes to mind is accountability. One, I feel like the refs need to take accountability for how the game was maturing and progressing. We saw a lot of physicality. We saw less number of fouls. And we saw a lot of things from hair pulling to hard fouls to flexing on opponents, which I don't mind the show of emotion, but you don't want that emotion to get carried away where you can't jurisdict everything that is happening. So one, if the refs were able to calm the women down so that they didn't keep escalating, I mean, we literally got a shot of, I believe the ref is Angelica, whom I love in the WNBA. She always comes correct, looking good. It was the funny freeze frame of her saying, I don't want this business. And I don't blame her because that was out of control. I do think refs have some responsibility in trying to de-escalate, but at that point, we have brothers on the floor. We have people ready. I mean, Haley Van Lith going up against 6'7". This was a rare instance for the women's game. I'm not saying it's a pass. But
oh my god. The fact too is that they all came up on her, but like they weren't gonna actually fight her because how big Camilla is. It was all like they were mad, but when they came up to her, they like pushed her a little bit, but they both backed down. Even Flage's brother backed down because his ass is like 2 feet shorter than her. She would have decked them because she's a big girl, and so it's like kind of funny. Like, oh, they came up to her because like, oh, I'm mad, but it's like you immediately back down. It was highly entertaining, inappropriate, but LSU had it coming.
Overall, I think the refs, they should have been able to temper the physicality in a way that we can have the competition with it turning into a fight. We also saw accountability from Dawn Staley. Right after the game, she stepped to the mic and apologized to all of the nation for what we had just witnessed. That is not who the women's game is. Now, on the other side,
mature.
Miss Kim Mulkey came and was giving us a comparison saying, well, she pushed the wrong one. If she pushed Angel like this,
what?
That to me is just emblematic of the chaos that at times we see in LSU,
Yep.
right? Just trying to manage personalities. This is someone that I have had respect for from the beginning. She was the first coach to ever walk into my family home and offer a scholarship to my older sister, Nneka. That was an opportunity.
After she treated Brittany Griner the way she did from from the get-go, since she left Baylor, I've lost a lot of respect for Kim. She's a really good coach. She's a terrible person. She's an awful person. The things that come out of her mouth are crazy. And she's definitely like right wing, Southern Trump supporter. She's definitely a Trump supporter. She's voting for Trump. So she's a racist. But she's a racist within context. She's like, okay, I love black people. They help me do my job, basically. They support me, I support them. So I love black people in these contexts. I love people in color in these contexts. But in real life, she's got a lot of hate in her heart, and that's why she doesn't have a husband, and that's why her husband left her ass, because she's a terrible person. Like, who would want to be with that? That is like way too much. She is, and no self-reflection. The fact that she said so many things so many times that were inappropriate, and that Baylor didn't even support her because of the way she talked. It's like so immature. Like, why would you say something like that? She should have pushed Angel. Angel pulled her hair and hit her in the neck. Angel already started shit. So that, wild.
For her to basically say, hey, this is not who we are, but instead we're saying, like, you chose the wrong one, which meanwhile, the wrong one, Angel Reese wanted no parts in that either. That was just a tremendously huge, large, impactful missed opportunity from her as well. And I know that there's a history there in which we question a lot of the things that she says.
Yep.
And to me, I mean, if someone shows you who they are, where they stand, you believe them.
Believe them.
One of the best coaches we've seen in the game. But in these moments, I don't necessarily go there for what I need to hear. We go to Dawn. So we already broke down what happened at the end of the game. But over the course of the entire matchup, Mylasia Fulwiley, talking about stellar freshman, she had herself a game and was named MVP of the SEC tournament. She had 24 points, 2 assists, 2 steals. And get this, 17 minutes. That's the crazy thing about South Carolina.
That's wild. I want to also point out that I like to call her full speed. Mylasia full speed Wiley, because her ass be like zipping down the court, doing the most cool things, and I think her nickname should be full speed, but that's my opinion.
Like Malaysia being able to just drop buckets, that's what makes them potent come March and even April, Final Four, probably, right?
Yes.
So I woke up in the morning. I had to host NBA Countdown, but I knew I had to get a very early start because we had women's tournament matchups starting very early, bright and early. So your girl got her coffee. Even though I don't drink coffee, I got a little bit of juice to get my day started. And Caitlin Clark brought the juice. So let's start with the Big Ten championship and my takeaways. So I was surprised. It was a very close game. Caitlin did not have a good first half, but then
she turns it on. I know she turns it on, but I don't think she's that good. I think Caitlin Clark reminds me a lot of Kelsey Plum and Sabrina Ionescu, and they have a lot of potential to be good, but they're very good in a college way, not in a professional basketball way. And I think when she comes into the league, she's gonna have some issues. But she does have Aaliyah Boston, and she does have Kelsey Mitchell, and so there should be a lot of support there to help her. But like usually, people who are very good at offense are not good in the pro league because you have to play defense, and people are gonna defend her, and they're gonna be up on her, and she's not gonna get all these easy shots. And I've seen a couple of the games that she's played, and the ones that she's lost, and I'm like, yeah, I can see the flaws in her game. When people actually defend her, she doesn't play as well. But when people like slag off, she's like, yeah, I'll shoot it from the logo because I can. I'm like, that's an advantage until people start guarding you from the logo. So anyway.
Then we all know she was going to turn the Jets on very quick. So Iowa won the Big Ten Tourney Championship over Nebraska in a thriller in overtime. And Caitlin was the most outstanding player, 34 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists. I mean, the icon living. We'll get to her in a little bit in Hot or Not. So after Iowa won the championship, on to the ACC. And that one was a good one as well.
Yes, it was.
Hannah Hidalgo, my girl, showed up, stepped up.
Freshie.
And there was a great moment post-game with Coach Neil Ivy joining Muffet McGraw
So
on
great.
set, just celebrating this moment for Notre Dame.
They had such a sweet moment.
They were a team that I think a lot of people...
God, that moment was so amazing. If you haven't seen that clip of Neil coming up and hugging Muffet, oh my God, it was so great. She's like, I've known her my whole life. She's been like one of the most important persons to me. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. I was like kind of tearing up a little bit. I was like, emotion. And Hannah was there too to see that connection between Neil and Muffet, and that's really good for her to. And I think for the women's game, there's not as much transfer portal things happening. There are, but there's not as much, and it's good for her to see that and the connection. And like I'm gonna assume that Hannah's gonna stay at Notre Dame. One, because of how Notre Dame is as a program, and two, because she's Catholic.
Looked past based off of injuries, but instead they bring home the ACC tournament banner and also the most outstanding player in Hannah. Hannah had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and
Crazy.
Already a stellar freshman season.
Freshman.
Now to my conference,
5'6".
saving the best for last.
She's
the
5'6".
last game ever of Pac-12 women's basketball. Stanford, USC. I was in my fields. I'll tell you exactly why and what happened.
Chiney's from Stanford. She went to Stanford. But I knew that they were likely going to lose this game. I knew Stanford was going to lose this game because I went to the game. I went to the USC versus Stanford game back in February, and that was the game where Juju went off for 51 points. That game was crazy. I was like, we were pretty even the whole game, and then she just like turned it on in like the second quarter or something, and it was like no stopping her. She was hitting every fucking thing, and then she got fouled so much that she hit almost every single foul shot. So after seeing that performance and the rest of her team and how they facilitated that, I was like, ooh, Stanford might not win this tournament. They might not win it, and they didn't.
Oh man, congrats to Coach Lindsay Gottlieb, Juju, and the crew. And of course, we're going to talk about Mackenzie Forbes, who signed to my same agency. Shout out to Allison and Disrupt the Game. Mackenzie Forbes, sensational game. She had 26 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. But more importantly, she gave us one of the best post-game interviews of the season.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Shouting out the legends. My goodness. So this is why this one hurt me so deeply. But it actually might be a good thing for Stanford. So my final game in the Pac-12 was in the Pac-12 tournament, and we lost in the semifinals to who? USC, who went on to win the Pac-12. I mean, Cassie Harbers was balling. She was balling. And the irony, which is why I feel optimistic still, glass half full, is that loss helped us address all of the mistakes we were making so that we could make a Final Four run. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, we advanced to the Final Four. The pain of that loss set us up for wins in the future. So maybe history will repeat itself for my Cardinal. And I'm also rooting for USC because now I believe they're projected as 1 seeds. We'll find out in a week on Selection Sunday. But still, the game is in great hands. You have Juju taking the mantle of the future, as you know, a lot of these top players like Cameron Brink have announced that they're joining the WNBA. So
yeah, she's gonna be second. She's gonna be a second round pick. It's crazy. Hot or not.
So we have to start hot or not with the iconic photos that we got from the Big Ten championship and Caitlin Clark. These are certified as hot. Now I know she did not win an overall championship like Kobe did, but fortunately we have the woman, the special talent that snapped those pics. Bree Lewerke was there on the scene with Caitlin Clark in one of the biggest moments of her already illustrious career. And now we welcome Bree to the show. Wow, to pull off some of these photos that you're gonna see very soon, Bree, I know you have to have a fantastic relationship with Caitlin Clark. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, the past 2 years I've shot the women's Final Four with Just Women's Sports, and luckily Iowa made it last year, and so I got to connect with Caitlin for the first time last year. It mainly started with just like sharing photos. Like, her and all women's players are like so respectful of photographers and creatives. It's unreal just how much they like appreciate the coverage and the photos, and so we started connecting that way.
It's because they don't get coverage. The media ignores them, so it's like very exciting that people are starting to pay attention to us now. So, and also women in general are like typically more like nice to people in general. It's kind of like social norms. So
And this weekend, she knew that I was going to be there at the Big Ten championship game. And so we connected saying, like, we need to meet up. For those who don't know, during the celebration, they put ropes around the entire court. This goes for like the Final Four, I'm sure the WNBA championship and whatnot. And so only like a select amount of media members and creatives are allowed to go inside the ropes because otherwise it would be absolute madness. And so I was on the outside of the ropes with my credentials, unfortunately. And I was hurt because if they're not on the stage as a photographer, you can't find them, you can't photograph them. Like, it's a madhouse inside the ropes. And so Caitlin got done with her interview for the Big Ten Network, and she was like, dude, where have you been? I've been trying to find you. I need your photos. And I was like, I'm stuck behind the ropes. And she was like, you're with me. So it was literally like in a club, like the VIP section. She just ended up bringing me along, and I got to capture some really, really special moments, including the one in the locker room. So that's kind of the story of our relationship. And I just feel so grateful that she like trusts me as a photographer and creative to capture those moments for her.
That's really
You
great.
said really, really special moments. I think
that is really cool of her. She seems like a really good person. She got a really good family, and very mature, and good head on her shoulders.
Underselling it, because we got a moment of her in the locker room after winning the Big Ten championship, which, by the way, went to overtime. And I can only imagine the amount of media that were there. I'm glad she was able to pull you, girl, from the abyss right into the VIP section in the club. But that photo that you took just stopped me, and I feel like everyone else in the basketball world, in our tracks. Tell me how you were able to pull that shot off that compares her post, mind you, Big Ten championship, not NBA championship though. How were you able to get that photo with the comparison to Kobe Bryant in one of his most significant moments?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, first of all. I honestly did not go into this weekend, to the championship game, to the celebration, planning for this. Like, it truly was an absolute, like, spur of the moment inspiration. Once I was inside the ropes and we were taking photos with the trophy and whatnot, I noticed that the Big Ten championship trophy was extremely similar to the Larry O'Brien trophy. I literally just came from like seeing it and being up that close to it. And I was like, I asked Caitlin during the celebration, I was like, would you be down to like pose, like do the Kobe pose with that trophy? And she was like, oh yeah, like that would be sick. And she wanted to see what the photo like looked like exactly. And so I brought it up on my phone and showed her like the two main ones with him and the trophy. It was truly like a spur of the moment idea, and she was just so like willing to participate in something that I just wanted to do as a photographer, to like pay homage to what an iconic photo that is, like not only from like Kobe's pose, but from the photographer who took it and how important of a moment it is in history. And so that was
also, it's really important to point out that Kobe was a major women's basketball supporter, especially WNBA, and that was like one of the hardest things about him passing away so tragically, was that he was bringing a lot of attention to the women's league. And it, in a selfish way, I was like, damn, he was a really good advocate for the league and it was going to probably help blow it up. And I was like, damn, he's gone now. But luckily it has continued. Honestly, like other basketball players have come into supporting women's sports. So that has continued, but he was definitely like the first person. He was like one of the catalysts in terms of supporting women's basketball.
That's kind of how it all came to be. Myself and like the Iowa creative staff ended up literally squeezing into a bathroom and like a small shower to take the photo. And it obviously gained, at the time I had no idea, like I guess maybe that was a bit of naive of me, but I had no idea the traction that it would have after I took the photo.
What? I mean, of course it's gonna get traction. That's so crazy. But I also like the trust for her to be able to say, look, I'll do this. I'll take this photo with you. Because in some ways, she does represent, very similar to Kobe, a transcendent player of our generation. Now, that wasn't the only photo you took. Tell me about the confetti pic.
Yeah, the confetti picture, like that was actually when I was behind the ropes, but it's really special what you're able to create just being in that arena. It's just the energy at Target Center was absolutely electric, and so many people stuck around. The celebration, like as you know, with like WNBA stuff, like the celebration was like an hour and a half long for how long we were out there, and so many Iowa fans stuck around for autographs and everything. So yeah, capturing those moments, I mean, it's like literally a dream come true.
Yeah, and talking about the energy inside the arena, I know that the numbers just recently came out. CBS, which was the broadcaster, said it was one of the most watched, I think, tournaments ever. And that's a large, that's in large part due to Caitlin Clark and the moment in which, some teams lost earlier. And so it just felt like it built with the drama and everything that we witnessed for this iconic moment. And through your photos, they absolutely delivered. Now, when we started off this conversation, you mentioned the WNBA All-Star game back in Mini. Is that true?
Yep.
That was like, I was there, sis. I'm pretty sure that was the last. I mean, I've only been in two. The last All-Star game. We could have been friends back in the day, but still, I'm glad that players.
I was gonna say, I honestly probably have photos of you from that. Like, I need to dig into the archives, but I almost remember you. And then was your sister there too?
Yes.
I think.
And my whole family. Maybe? So I'm gonna need you to do that. So that's homework for the next time. Not only will you get Caitlin Clark picks, but you also get Chiney, I guess, All-Star picks back in what, like 2016, 2017. Thank you so much for stopping by the show. We really appreciate you, and keep doing your thing, sis. I think that's one thing that us in the women's game do really well. We want to amplify our own stories, and building relationships like Caitlin and you, Bree, are really the essential cog in that machine. So we appreciate you.
Hey, that means so much to me. I'm honored to be in the spaces and have the relationships with the players that I do. And big shout out to you for continuing to talk about and elevate the women's game. I love your work, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Tear. You're too sweet. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, girl. Hot or not, the finale of Love is Blind. Not. No, I went in optimistic, but quickly, people were weeded out. I mean, we all knew that Chelsea and Jimmy were probably not going to go.
I don't really have a response to this because I don't do these. Okay, so I guess I'll just stop there. That was really cool. I really enjoyed Chiney's breakdown. It was very had a good context. It had the truth in it, and I really appreciate her perspective. I really like that. I'm gonna definitely react to more of her videos in the future. So yeah, looking forward to it, and yeah, see you in the next video. Later.